If you've ever wondered why veterans seem different, why they act differently in crowds, why they're always scanning the room, or why they're struggling to just relax, you're about to discover 18 psychological transformations that happen to every single service member that most civilians will never understand. These changes are permanent, they're invisible, and they affect millions of veterans walking among us every single day. By the end of this video, you'll finally understand why your veteran friend, family member, or coworker operates on a completely different mental frequency than everyone else. Number 1 is hyper-awareness of every environment. The moment someone enters military service, their brain gets completely rewired. They start automatically scanning rooms for exits, reading body language of everyone around them, identifying potential threats, and mapping escape routes. This isn't a conscious choice anymore. It becomes as automatic as breathing. When a veteran walks into a restaurant, they're not just looking for a table. They're positioning themselves with their back to the wall, eyes on the entrance, mentally noting where every person is sitting and how they're behaving. Civilians often mistake this for paranoia or anxiety, but veterans know this heightened awareness once meant the difference between coming home alive or not coming home at all. What makes this transformation so profound is that it never shuts off. Even decades after service, veterans find themselves doing threat assessments at grocery stores, movie theaters, and family gatherings. Their brain has been fundamentally altered to prioritize survival over comfort. While everyone else is casually enjoying dinner conversation, the veteran at the table is unconsciously monitoring the room for any changes in atmosphere or potential dangers. The second transformation is emotional numbing becomes survival mode. Military training deliberately teaches service members to compartmentalize and shut down emotional responses that could interfere with mission completion. Fear, sadness, vulnerability, and even joy get suppressed when there's work to be done. This emotional regulation isn't weakness, it's tactical necessity. When bullets are flying or lives are on the line, there's no time to process feelings. But here's where it gets complicated. This emotional armor that keeps people alive in combat doesn't just disappear when they return to civilian life. Years later, family members complain that their veteran seems cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. They don't understand that this emotional numbing was literally trained into them as a survival mechanism. The veteran isn't choosing to be emotionally distant. They're operating from a psychological framework designed for high-stress, life-or-death situations. Number 3 is the shift from emotion-focused to mission-focused thinking. Military service fundamentally changes how the brain processes situations. Instead of asking, "How do I feel about this?" the transformed mind immediately jumps to what needs to be accomplished. This is why veterans often excel in crisis situations while struggling in relaxed social environments. Their brain is optimized for problem-solving under pressure, not for casual conversation about feelings and preferences. This mission-focused mindset explains why veterans sometimes seem impatient with lengthy discussions about emotions or preferences. They've been conditioned to identify objectives, create action plans, and execute solutions efficiently. The civilian approach of exploring feelings, discussing options extensively, and seeking consensus can feel frustratingly inefficient to someone whose brain has been rewired for decisive action. The fourth transformation creates instant bonding and loyalty with fellow service members. Military service creates a level of trust and unity that most civilians never experience in their entire lives. This isn't just friendship or camaraderie. This is a brotherhood and sisterhood forged through shared hardship, mutual dependence, and collective sacrifice. Veterans can meet complete strangers who served and within minutes establish a connection deeper than friendships they've maintained for decades. This transformation explains why veterans often feel more comfortable around other veterans than their own family members. It's not that they love their families any less, but the shared experience of military service creates an instant understanding that transcends words. Fellow veterans automatically understand the psychological changes, the altered worldview, and the ongoing struggles without any explanation needed. Number 5 is learning to suffer in silence. Military culture teaches service members that complaining is weakness and that everyone has problems, so handle yours privately. This creates a psychological shift where pain, exhaustion, fear, and emotional distress get internalized rather than expressed. The military reinforces this by teaching that help isn't always available, resources are limited, and your ability to push through adversity without support is what makes you valuable. This silent suffering becomes deeply ingrained and continues long after military service ends. Veterans dealing with chronic pain, emotional trauma, or life challenges often struggle alone rather than seeking help or even acknowledging their struggles to loved ones. They've been psychologically conditioned to believe that expressing difficulty is burden on others and a sign of personal failure. The sixth transformation is losing the ability to ask for help. Military training creates hyper-independence as a survival trait. Service members learn to solve problems with available resources, improvise solutions, and push through challenges without external assistance. This self-reliance becomes so fundamental that even when struggling significantly, veterans default to handling everything alone. This transformation creates a paradox where the people who sacrifice the most for others become the least likely to accept help when they need it. Veterans experiencing unemployment, relationship problems, health issues, or emotional struggles often isolate themselves and attempt to solve everything independently, even when support systems are available and eager to help. Number 7 involves the brain getting hardwired for structure and predictability. Military life operates on precise schedules, clear hierarchies, defined procedures, and predictable routines. This structure provides psychological stability during chaotic and dangerous situations. The brain adapts to thrive within these clear parameters and expectations. The challenge comes when veterans transition to civilian environments that lack this structure. Flexible schedules, ambiguous roles, and unstructured time can create significant mental stress for someone whose brain has been conditioned to operate within military frameworks. Many veterans struggle more with the lack of structure in civilian life than they ever did with combat situations. Transformation number 8 fundamentally alters self-perception. Military service systematically breaks down individualistic thinking and rebuilds it around team success and mission accomplishment. Service members stop seeing themselves as the main character in their own story and instead become supporting players in something larger than themselves. Personal desires, preferences, and even safety become secondary to collective objectives. This selflessness becomes so deeply embedded that veterans often struggle to prioritize their own needs even in situations where it's appropriate and healthy. They've been psychologically rewired to put duty, team, and mission before personal considerations, and this mindset persists long after their service obligations end. The 9th transformation involves dark humor becoming a primary coping mechanism. Military environments expose service members to situations, images, and experiences that would traumatize most civilians. Dark humor becomes a psychological tool for processing these experiences without being overwhelmed by their emotional weight. Veterans learn to find laughter in places where others see only tragedy or horror. This coping mechanism often creates social disconnection with civilians who find veteran humor inappropriate or disturbing. What seems like insensitivity is actually a sophisticated psychological adaptation that allowed them to maintain mental stability under extreme circumstances. The humor isn't cruelty, it's survival. Number 10 creates a deep sense of responsibility for protecting others. Military service instills an automatic protective instinct that extends far beyond official duties. Veterans unconsciously position themselves as guardians in public spaces, automatically assess threats to those around them, and feel personally responsible for the safety of others even in civilian settings. This protective instinct explains why veterans often feel restless in crowded spaces, position themselves strategically in social situations, and remain alert even during recreational activities. They've been psychologically programmed to be ready to defend others at any moment, and this responsibility never fully deactivates. The 11th transformation makes normal civilian social situations feel abnormal and stressful. Large crowds, unpredictable behavior, and environments with too many unknown variables trigger constant internal alarm systems. Veterans often feel more comfortable in controlled, predictable situations than in the casual social gatherings that others enjoy. This isn't social anxiety in the traditional sense, it's a heightened threat assessment system that never learned to distinguish between combat zones and civilian spaces. The psychological frameworks developed for survival in dangerous environments continue operating at full capacity even in completely safe situations. Number 12 involves training the mind to ignore physical limitations and bodily signals. Military service teaches people to function despite sleep deprivation, physical pain, illness, and exhaustion. This mental override capability becomes so automatic that veterans continue pushing through physical problems long after it's necessary or healthy. This transformation often leads to chronic health issues because veterans have been conditioned to ignore their body's warning signals. They delay medical treatment, minimize symptoms, and continue functioning at high levels even when experiencing significant physical problems. The same mental toughness that made them effective service members can become detrimental to their long-term health and well-being. Transformation 13. Fundamentally alters the relationship with mortality and danger. Military service exposes people to death, injury, and life-threatening situations in ways that permanently change their psychological baseline for what constitutes real danger. This altered perspective can create relationship tensions when veterans seem dismissive of concerns that feel very real and important to their civilian family members and friends. It's not that veterans don't care, it's that their brain has been recalibrated to distinguish between inconvenience and genuine danger in ways that others cannot comprehend. Number 14 develops the ability to mask emotional states flawlessly. Military training teaches service members to maintain professional composure regardless of internal emotional states. They learn to function effectively while experiencing stress, fear, grief, anger, or panic, without letting these emotions interfere with performance or affect others around them. This emotional masking becomes so sophisticated that veterans can appear completely calm and controlled even while experiencing significant internal turmoil. Decades later, people describe veterans as always being composed and unflappable, having no idea about the emotional storms being perfectly concealed beneath the surface. The 15th transformation creates deep emotional attachment to routines and rituals. Military life provides psychological stability through consistent routines, ceremonies, and structured activities. These rituals serve as anchors during chaotic and unpredictable times, providing mental framework for processing experiences and maintaining identity. When veterans lose these military routines and rituals, they often experience a profound sense of identity loss that civilians struggle to understand. The morning physical training, uniform preparation, formation attendance, and structured schedule weren't just activities, they were fundamental components of psychological stability and self-definition. Number 16. Fundamentally alters trust patterns and relationship formation. Military service teaches that trust must be earned through demonstrated reliability under pressure, not given freely based on personality or social connection. Veterans learn to observe actions over time before extending trust, and they become highly skilled at identifying people who might be unreliable when situations become difficult. Civilians often interpret this careful approach to trust as coldness or social distance, but veterans are simply applying lessons learned about the importance of surrounding themselves with people who can be counted on when circumstances become challenging. They're not being unfriendly, they're being careful. Transformation 17 develops what military psychologists call warrior mindset, a fundamental cognitive shift in how stress, pressure, and adversity are processed. Instead of viewing difficult situations as problems to be avoided, this mindset reframes challenges as opportunities to demonstrate capability and strength. Stress becomes fuel for enhanced performance rather than something that diminishes effectiveness. This psychological framework explains why veterans often perform better under pressure than in relaxed situations. Their brain has been rewired to use adversity as motivation and to find clarity in chaos. The warrior mindset becomes so fundamental that veterans sometimes struggle in low-stakes situations where the psychological intensity isn't needed or appropriate. The final transformation, number 18, creates invisible responsibility that never deactivates. Even decades after leaving military service, veterans continue carrying psychological duty to protect others, provide leadership during crises, sacrifice personal interests for collective benefit, and maintain strength for those around them. This sense of responsibility operates constantly, even though no one else can see it or expects it. This invisible burden explains why veterans often feel restless during retirement, struggle with pure recreation, and have difficulty accepting help from others. They've been psychologically programmed to be the solution provider, the strength source, and the protector, regardless of whether these roles are officially assigned or even wanted by others. Understanding these 18 transformations helps explain why veterans sometimes seem like they're from a different world, because psychologically, they are. These changes aren't temporary adjustments, they're permanent rewiring of fundamental brain patterns. Veterans didn't choose these transformations, but they carry them for life as invisible reminders of their service and sacrifice. If you know a veteran, recognize that their different way of moving through the world isn't personality quirk. It's the result of profound psychological transformation designed to keep them and others alive under the most challenging circumstances imaginable. These changes made them incredibly effective service members, and they continue shaping every interaction, decision, and response for the rest of their lives. What's your experience with these transformations? Are you a veteran who recognizes these changes in yourself? Do you have veteran family members or friends whose behavior makes more sense now? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this helped you understand veterans in your life better, make sure to subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching.